Good evening, guys. Welcome back. It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're here for UFC Las Vegas. Piotr Jan against Merab Dvalishvili is our main event this week, coming off UFC 285, which was a great card and one I thoroughly enjoyed. I don't even, nowadays, I don't stay up and watch full cards, and that's the first time I've did that in a long time. It killed me on Sunday, but it was worth it for some of the fights that we got in that card. And moving on to another solid card here. The next actually run of 6 weeks are solid events throughout. And I'm just here to give you some kind of quick picks on this one here. I just want to thank everybody for the support and the likes. Of people that have been dropping messages saying glad to see you back and so on. So that's really nice of you to say that. I really do appreciate that. So yeah, let's get into this fight card and we'll get into some of the fights there. Right, so great main event, by the way. I love the main event. Carlson Harris against Jared Gooden. This was one that was made, I want to say, about 2 or 3 hours ago. It was supposed to be Abubakar Nurmagomedov that was stepping in here against Carlson Harris, but choo-choo. Jared Gooden's back in the UFC after I think he fought through his initial contract, never got his contract renewed, went out there in the regional scene and really just beat the people he really should kind of beat. This guy here, he fought another contestant on this fight card, and then Dumar, Curtis Millender, former UFC vet. That's not the greatest look in the world, but Impi's a very athletic, scary dude at times. Beat Doug Usher, which I'm going to go back and watch that fight after I've just seen it on YouTube. And this DeMarcus Jackson one, which I think I've seen the clips for that there. Carlson Harris, to me, Carlson is the guy I'm going to pick initially because he's been fight ready. He's been getting ready for this night specifically. Jared Gooden's a guy who does stay very in the gym a lot and is ready to kind of jump in and short notice opportunities from people that know him a little bit better than I do. But like I say, he's not had a fight in close to over a year. That was against Shavkat. We all know where Shavkat kind of reigns in that division at 170 pounds. He is a title contender. Probably in the next year, if he continues what he's doing, he looks like to be a really solid good fighter and coming through that Jeff Neal fight. So kind of how I see this here, I think Jared's going to actually struggle to make the weight. It's at 170. I don't think he's going to make that weight. I think he's going to miss weight. So this is going to be a kind of catch weight bout here. I like Carlson Harris to just be a little bit more awkward, get takedowns, maybe rough him up a little bit there. But Jared Gooden, he's got power and he can stand there and he can exchange blows. But like I said, this is the fight I've not looked into an over amount because I thought Carlson Harris wasn't going to be fighting in this one. I know a little bit about Jared Gooden. So initially I'm going to go Carlson Harris. I think he's got a chance of submission. I think that Jared Gooden will fight hard enough to get a decision. Get to the decision here, but ultimately I think he loses. Tyson Nam against Bruno Silva. This is a really interesting fight to me. Both guys have kind of been, I think Bruno's been out for a couple of years. Tyson Nam's a guy I've known for years. And really this fight kind of comes down to me if he lands that death touch. If Tyson Nam lands that power shot like we have seen previously, he can win fights very efficiently. But outside of that, his output is disgusting. It's not very good at all. So he needs to land those power shots and needs to land them, get the opportunity to land them. If he doesn't, I just think that he could get out-hustled, outworked, and that's kind of what's happened before in certain fights. Now, Bruno Silva, like I say, he's not been around. I want to say it's been a couple of years since I've seen this dude fight. Yeah, 2021, so coming on 2 years, and he's on a 2-fight win streak against guys that are not high caliber UFC guys, JP Bays and Victor Rodriguez. Tyson has got an absolute wealth of experience, coming in close to 40 fights. And to me, I think he will have opportunities here to land shots. But like I say, I think he needs to make them count. He needs to get them wobbled. He needs to really kind of get him on Hart Street and try and go from there. So I'm not sure about this one a little bit, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to go Bruno Silva to win a decision. But I think you can get good dog money in Tyson Nam. So I'll go Bruno Silva, not supremely confident in that one there, if I'm being honest with you. Tony Gravely against Victor Henry, another very, very close fight where I think that, Victor Henry came in that fight against Ione Barcelos and he looked amazing. And Victor Henry's a guy that, if you kind of look around the local regional scenes and kind of keep your eye close to people coming through, this is the guy that you will know a bit about because he's fought some good names over there in Japan. Trent Gardner's a guy that I've known about for many, many years. This is the guy that I thought was absolutely dead set to come into the UFC. He actually lost his last fight and got knocked out pretty viciously, so he might not ever see him. He's Peter Yan's main training partner. And like I say, Albert Morales there, he took out. But this performance here was just unreal. Then, I don't want to say it was a bad fight against Rafael Assunção. I just think it was a fight where Assunção slowed the fight down, used that supreme veteran savviness, the many multiple big fights he's had in the UFC, and slowed it down enough to where he won that fight very convincingly. And never really looked at in that fight at all, honestly, Victor Henry. So Tony Gravely, a guy who pretty solid, comes out American top team, sound solid wrestler, has initiated some power recently with some of his, you seen that finish over Johnny Munoz. He caught him right at the very start of that fight there, hurt him badly, and then he lost to Javid Basharat, and Javid's one of the better guys, I think, at 135. So a very, very, very close fight. I'm going to go on the Victor Henry side. I think, like I say, he has got a lot of experience. I don't know. I just think that one's got the chance to be a very, very kind of close fight. I'll not be having anything from a betting standpoint. I have one bet here. I'm looking to continue my good run of bets. I've been nailing some really good bets recently. But the initial fights in the early part of this one, I've got not much interest in at all. JJ Aldridge against Ariana Lipsky. This should, to me, be a fairly, I don't want to say easy, but straightforward is probably the word. A fairly straightforward fight for JJ Aldridge. If she can kind of does what she does, throw her strikes, be on the move, mix in a little bit of takedowns, just have more output. Lipsky, to me, she has got power, but she's went to the UFC and she garnered a lot of kind of interest when she did that. She's a very beautiful, beautiful woman. And a lot of people were thinking that was going to coincide with her good fighting skills. And she's shown she's getting stopped by Antonina, she's getting stopped by Montana, she's getting stopped by Priscilla. So she can get taken out and she can get hurt a little bit. JJ is actually a girl I like betting at when she's an underdog. But she's not an underdog in this one. She's a heavy, heavy favourite. Outside of, to me, Lipsky landing a kill shot, I think that Aldridge is going to run away all day with this fight, and she's probably going to win a decision in that one. So JJ Aldridge will be my pick there. Mario Bautista against Guido Canete. I think it's like minus 1,000. When I last looked on Monday, it was minus 800. So the money's still coming in on Mario Bautista. And it's just weird in the UFC these days, like the Bo Nickel line last week. This one here, it's like, it reminds me of kind of Bellator fights where you get those high numbers. Yeah, I'm not used to seeing them in the UFC, but it's warranted here, I think. Guido Canete is coming off that win over 2 wins, actually, and at 43 years old as well, which is kind of crazy. Randy Costa, Chris Moutinho, 2 stoppages, both in the first round. I think that's his kind of highest, his kind of easier way to win fights is doing it in the first round. I just don't think he will do it in the first round here. I think that he will get worked upon. Mario Bautista, I like his aggression on the feet. I like his shot selection, his footwork. I like everything I see from Mario Bautista. I think he's a really competent guy in this division and a tough guy to face. Outside of maybe getting caught in a submission or getting hit with a big power shot, to me, Mario Bautista should win this fairly comfortably. So maybe the end of the first round, maybe in the second round for me is where I'll go Mario Bautista. This is one that's garnered a lot of interest for me since probably Sunday. Cedric Dumar against Josh Fremd. Newcomer to the UFC, 7-0, fighting out of Florida. And then you've got Josh Fremd here, who I know a little bit more about. I've watched a little bit more of him from the kind of regionals and so on. This dude here is garnering a lot of attention. If you're on Twitter, He is the Twitter mush of the week. Everyone seems to be on him. So the kind of big think group on Twitter is all on him. And I can see why. If you got him at an early number, I've seen like minus 140s that people got on him. And if you got that number, I don't think it's the worst number in the world. But now that people are betting him up, like you said, it's 140 there. He's like minus 225 over here in the UK. That to me is like, I would never trust this dude who's making a step up in his UFC debut. I would never trust him at that number whatsoever. Fairly athletic guy. I don't think he's got the overall best hands. Good kicks. Seen a nasty knockout with a high kick. Good low kicks. We've seen wrestling. He mixes in with his body locks. Can have some top time down there. But he is making a step up against Josh Fremd here, who's coming off of 2 L's. Come in there against, I think it was short notice against Anthony Hernandez. Hernandez is a tough guy to be facing in that division. Right now he's surging. And then this was a look, this was a competitive fight until it wasn't really. So Tresean Gore, it was a very, very kind of close fight. I was kind of edging Gore, if I'm being honest with you, in that one. But then he caught an absolute sick guillotine where Josh Fremd tried to frame off the cage, which just made this absolutely deep guillotine choke and put him to sleep. But he's a massive guy for the division. I mean, 6'4", Dumar is 6'2" as well. Like plus 150, it's like plus 180 over here in the UK, and I'm very, very tempted to throw a shot on Josh Fremd here and go against Rick Dumar. Now I can see a path to victory for Dumar here. I think that he could like take those skinny legs away from Josh Fremd, but for me, I just think that the line's too high on a guy who's got a lot of experience out there in the regional scene. He's got fights in the UFC. You've got this guy making his debut. I'm going to take Josh Fremd. I'm going to take the kind of more experienced fighter here, UFC experience. But there's been people comparing this guy to Jalen Turner. I think I've seen a Jamal Hill, which I thought, geez, why are you mentioning that guy? And with this guy, Jalen Turner, possibly I could maybe get a little bit there, but for me, I'm going to take a shot on Josh Fremd. I think I might take a bet on him. I'm just going to wait and see where this line goes. If it gets to minus 200, I'm 100% in. I'm kind of 75% in at plus 180 right now. Just like a 1-unit shot. I quite like it there. I think that he could keep this very competitive. Just try not get hurt early and get behind in the scorecards. And he could have a chance to win this fight. So Josh Fremd's going to be the pick there. Rafael Assunção against Davy Grant. This is another one that's really interesting to me. 2 kind of older guys in this bantamweight division. You've got this guy's a stalwart, 40 years old, where you've got Dangerous Davy there, who's comes from kind of the north of England, but fights out of Las Vegas. I've seen that he's been over there. I think it's been at Syndicate for a while now. So he's coming in here, I want to believe, on fairly short notice, coming off a win over Lewis Smolka. Lewis is kind of so up and down. When he's on, he's great. When he's not, he's really bad. And then he had 2 very, very close fight. Well, this was a close-ish fight. He was very competitive there. This wasn't so much. He kind of took a little bit of a beating there. But he showed in this fight here against Jonathan Martinez that he's got those big hooks that he can throw at any time whatsoever and hurt people. And this is kind of what I'm a little bit worried with here, because I think Rafael is definitely on the tail end of his career. But he can win like this. You've got all these L's here. Look at Ricky Simone. He's a ranked fighter. Garbrandt, I don't think he's a ranked fighter, but he's a former champion. That fight was very, very close before he got caught and just taken out. Sandhagen's a title contender. Marlon Moraes, he was a title contender when he was in his pomp in the UFC. But Rafael, to me, he's got a solid game where he can make you fight his fight, and it's very, very hard to look good against him. The output's not enough there. He can just control the fight, and that's his kind of where I see this fight going. Davy Grant, to me, is if he lands some heavy shots, then he might open up Rafael Assunção a little bit to where maybe Rafael gets a little bit too aggressive, walks onto a shot. I think it's very, very possible that Davy Grant can knock him out. To me, I'm going to go with the kind of more veteran savvy Rafael Assunção here to just kind of draw out these rounds and win very, very close rounds to win a very close decision. So I'm going to take Rafael Assunção. to win this one here. If you got the big dog odds, like seen plus 140 has been posted, I think that's down to like plus 110. That's actually a pretty good number. But for me, I'm going to take Asuncao. Not super confident. I don't think I'll be betting him. In fact, I know I won't be betting him. But I like him to win that fight there. Very, very close decision. Lucas Brzeski against Carl Williams. To me, this dude doesn't look like UFC kind of a UFC caliber fighter, in my opinion. I just think that even though I think I dodged a massive bullet last time out, because I parlayed Martin Boudet and I was cursing myself at the end of that fight, thinking, why did I bet this dude? I think it was a heavy number as well. But then the judges helped me out big time because I don't think he should have lost that fight. I think he has got the clear, definitive advantage on the feet against Carl Williams. But I think the wrestling and the grappling advantage comes from Carl Williams, and I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen from him. I mean, he's not a young kid coming in here, so this was a pretty impressive win against Jimmy Lawson, who I think has got a pretty comprehensive wrestling background, I want to say. I can't remember exactly what it was. This is what it was, Penn State. So if you're a wrestler that comes out of Penn State, that's not a bad look whatsoever. And he will go hard for 15 minutes. Excuse me, guys. He will go hard for 15 minutes. Will continue to look for takedowns. If there's any time on the feet in this one, I would kind of lean towards Brzezinski. But I think he's going to get numerous takedowns, and I think he's going to run out a decision winner here. So interested to see a little bit more, get a little bit more data on him here in the UFC. This is a good matchup, I think, to come into the UFC again. So I'll take Carl Williams to win via decision there. Vitor Petrino against Anton Takali. Another interesting fight because this guy comes for your head. Vitor Petrino comes for you, comes forward, looks to put some heavy leather on you, and looks to really actually go for you. I think this kid, if he gets a little bit more experience, gets the right type of matchups, I think that he could be a really, really sound fighter in the UFC. I think it's light heavyweight division, I want to say this is. Am I being wrong here? Light heavyweight division. I mean, this was a decent win there against Bellato in the Contender Series. But like I say, he comes forward, looks to throw heavy leather, where Takali, I think he will look to try and get his grappling going. Coming in here, his second fight in the UFC, he did fight, Jailton Almeida. And that's never an easy look. I mean, he was kind of brought in for one reason only in that one there. So I think if he can get a grappling game going, I think he could have some success. But I like kind of what I see from this guy and the power that he's shown, Vitor Petrino. So ultimately, I'm going to take Petrino. Not looked into it a hell of a lot, I'll be honest with you. But I was impressed with his power. And I was impressed with just his aggressiveness. So, and I was impressed with this guy's fight name, the Pleasure Man, which I thought was quite funny. But Vitor Petrino via TKO in the second round is where I'm going with there. Said Nurmagomedov against Jonathan Martinez. This is a great fight. This is one of the fights outside the main event I'm really looking forward to watching. I cast a really nice dog ticket in Said Nurmagomedov against Jacob Kakramanov last time. Now, I think if that fight the way it was going, I was probably on the way to losing that ticket. I definitely was. But then he's shown he's got that dangerous ninja choke that if you come in with a sloppy takedown, he can take advantage of that and absolutely hurt you. But in this fight, I don't see Jonathan Martinez jumping in for takedowns. This is going to be a fight with two strikers. And I've seen people talk about maybe Said Nurmagomedov grappling. It's not something that he's done in his previous fights. He's got a couple of takedowns through his, I can't remember how many fights he's had, 6 or 7 maybe. The guy's predominantly a striker and a very explosive, athletic striker as well. Spinning back kicks, big leg kicks, good combinations, and can really, really hurt you. And he's got that added game with the chokes there at his disposal if he needs to. But Jonathan Martinez, a really good counter striker, step-in knees, great low kicks. If he gets hit with the right shots like Davy Grant caught him with, he can be taken out. But I think there's a lot of love inside Nurmagomedov this week, and his betting line to me is a little bit too high. I'm a kind of guy, I know people will go on at me, you need to bet fighters, not numbers. Me, I'm a numbers guy. I like to look at numbers. If I think a number's off, then I'll ultimately go and bet it. I did that last week with Martinez. I thought that fight should have been lined closer. I thought he got his ass beat. But those numbers plus 250, plus, and in this case, like Jonathan Martinez, like plus 200, plus 2, I think it's plus 210 actually, is what I see him at. If that line continues to go up, I'm actually really interested right now in Jonathan Martinez. I think this is going to be a very close kind of tactical affair on the feet, and I think he's got tools that can win him fights, win this fight. Avoid just getting hurt a little bit by side. Try not get behind in the kind of striking exchanges. But I like everything I see from Martinez. I'm a big fan of Nurmagomedov, so I've really enjoyed kind of watching him fight in the UFC. I think he's had a couple of really good wins, a couple of opportunities where he kind of let go by the wayside. But to me, I'm going to take Jonathan Martinez to win a very close decision here. And at the number, I probably will end up having a little bet on Jonathan Martinez as well. Ricardo Ramos against Austin Lingo. I've parlayed Ricardo Ramos up. Chalky at minus 300. But I think that he's got more than enough skills here, and he's kind of at the right time in his career. I think he's coming into his prime now, where he's going to start to settle down, and we're going to start seeing the kind of real Ricardo Ramos, where his all-around game is pretty solid, a really good, dangerous striker, a lot of spin attacks. With that, he's got great jiu-jitsu as well, where Austin Lingo's really a head-first, come-forward fighter, super aggressive. I actually didn't know if he was still with the UFC, because it'd been that long since I've seen him fight. Last fight was 2021, so a year and a half ago at the very, very most there. A couple of fights here, a couple of tough fights here, David Onama and Jonathan Pierce, and then he's continued this here against Ricardo Ramos. To me, I think that he can counter and hit Lingo with big shots. I think that he can get takedowns and get to dominant positions on the ground. And I like Ricardo Ramos inside the distance here. I think submission at some point in this fight is a very, very high chance, a medium-sized chance of kind of hitting. So I've got Ricardo Ramos for the win there inside the distance. Nikita Krylov against Ryan Spann. This was supposed to be a main event, 2 weeks ago? I picked Nikita Krylov then. I'm picking Nikita Krylov now. I'm not changing just because he got ill. Seen that he'd stayed in the US. He's not been going back and forward from Russia, Ukraine, wherever he is based out of, back to the America. So I think he got ill. I just think it was an illness thing on fight day that pulled him from that fight. I like just the overall game. I think his striking's very solid. He's got a dangerous ground game. I think his IQ can be a little bit to his detriment sometimes, and he can put himself in silly positions like the Paul Craig fight. Ryan Spann, to me, I think he's a little bit of a front runner. I think that if he doesn't get any success early on and really maybe not get Krylov, I think that he will struggle in this one. Like I say, I picked Krylov inside the distance last time. I'm not going to change here. Nikita Krylov inside the distance. Co-main event, we've got Alexander Volkov, 35-10, fighting out of Russia, against Alexander Romanov, 16-1, fighting out of Moldova. Interesting fight here because I successfully faded this Romanov dude last time against Marcin Tybura. Plus 350, I think Tybura was, and then I added Tybura. I can't remember the live number I got, but it was a very good number because Romanov did win the first round there, and Tybura came strong in rounds 2 and 3 to win the decision there. This is it's an interesting fight here because it's pretty obvious where the strengths lie. You've got Volkov, pinpoint, accurate striker, good kickboxer, good kicks, good combinations, fights long, terrible takedown defense. We've seen that numerous times in the UFC. We've seen Aspinall take him down. We've seen Curtis Blades get him numerous times. And that's what Romanov's game is. He comes out in that first round, looks to get takedowns, looks to get to dominant positions, looks for submissions. But after that, if you can initially stop the takedown, you can get this guy, absolutely. Tybura did that. I think Volkov, to me, I don't think he's got the to stay on his feet. I don't think he's got his. I don't think that's as good as what Tybura's is. To not get taken down. So that's the thing there. I'm really interested in a dog shot in Volkov, but the kind of head of me is thinking like Romanov here is going to get takedowns and he's going to win rounds through that. Could possibly get a stoppage because I don't think Volkov is the greatest off his back. Like I say, in that Curtis Blades fight, he did get back to his feet on numerous occasions. Like I say, if this is any semblance of a fight on the feet, Volkov is going to win. But for me, I think I'm going to stick with Romanov. I've tried to fade this guy numerous times. I thought that he got very lucky against Juan Espino. I thought Espino was getting him in that fight, and then it kind of changed on a dime. I feel like I should be pushed into the Volkov side here, but I'm going to go with Romanov. I'm going to go actually a second round stoppage. I think it's going to be a massive win for him. A first round stoppage. At the end of the first round, I think he's going to get to a dominant position and get a TKO finish here. So round one finish for Romanov, but I'm trying to kind of stay away from the Volkov side. He was the side I kind of liked earlier on the week, but when you watch some of his defensive tendencies on the ground, I just don't like it. But he could have an opportunity here if it goes past the 5-minute mark. But Romanov's going to be my pick. Main event of the night, Piotr Yan against Merab Dvalishvili in a really, really good main event, a solid main event. I'm a massive fan of both guys. If you know me, I've been talking about Piotr Yan for years before he was ever in the UFC. I loved watching this guy back then. Loved him even more when he came to the UFC. One of the most cerebral fighters, I think, in the UFC. One of the most well-rounded guys in the UFC. And then you've got Merab. He goes by his nickname, the Machine. Like, he is an absolute machine where he will keep coming forward for 15. Now he's into 25-minute fights. He won't stop. He will come forward and look to bring the fight to you at every opportunity. But this is a big, big fight, and he's been riding a big win streak for a long time now. I mean, these wins here that he had short notice guys coming in, John Dodson, Stamen's a good win, Moraes a good win. He got hurt badly in that fight though, like super badly. And then he beat the kind of corpse of Jose Aldo last time out. Now, this guy, I think he will get a couple of takedowns. But the one thing with Merab is that he's got no top game whatsoever. He doesn't keep you there for large parts of the fight. If he did that, or if he was to get through what Aljo did against Piotr Yan and get the back and be successful at keeping guys there, then I'd be more inclined to maybe have a pick on Merab Dvalishvili. But to me, I think it's a really good matchup for Piotr Yan. I really do. I think that as a striker, he's not really got anything to worry about with Merab. He kind of throws kind of wild strikes coming forward. You've got someone like Piotr Yan with pinpoint boxing, great low kicks, which I think is something that he could use to his advantage here. Kick the legs out of Merab, stop that kind of explosiveness with those takedowns, or just stop the wheels from running, because that's what Merab's going to do. He's going to keep coming, but he's not going to really, like I say, nowadays with UFC fights, like getting numerous takedowns really doesn't mean an awful lot if you don't do anything with them. And I like that personally, because back in the day, you used to get fighters that get one takedown and the people would give them that round, even though they really all they had was the one takedown and some control time. But Merab's not one of those guys where he will control you for large parts on the ground. He could put you against the cage grind you a little bit, but out in open space here, like he is in trouble. I think if Piotr Yan gets his confidence, he's coming off two very, very close L's. I think he could have won both of them, honestly. I think there's a Mali one he won. The Stalin one to me was a close fight. Could have went either way. I bet Piotr Yan at minus 225 back earlier in the week, and I had him parlayed up with Ricardo Ramos at minus 108. I think he'll be quite a popular kind of parlay this week. But I got him early at a decent number. Now he's like minus 300. So you're getting a lot more back earlier in the week if you got on that. But what is his motivation there? Is he still after that belt? I think he is. I just think he's one of those guys that he loves to fight. There was talks of him saying, oh, I don't know whether I want to be in the UFC and this and that, which I don't really like, because I still think he can hold the belt at that weight class. In my opinion, I think he is up there 1A, 1B in that division. And he's only 30 years old as well. So he's got a lot to offer the UFC and a lot to offer the bantamweight division. I think that he's just a little bit too much. I think he might start off a little slow. Wouldn't surprise me if Merab gets around. But I think as the fight goes on, I just think that he's systematically going to break this guy down, stop takedowns, land more killer shots on the feet, maybe break Merab down a little bit, and kind of go from there. So I've actually got Peter Yan inside the distance. I like him late. One of the bets I might look at is round 4 or 5 or decision. But like I said, I have him parlayed up already with Ricardo Ramos. But that's going to be my pick. Peter Yan, it's going to be my pick there. I can see why people would want to take a shot. He's like higher than that number now. He's like plus 210, plus 220. I can see why you'd be taking shots at those numbers. But for me, I like the minus 225 that I got in Peter Yan, and I really do like him inside the distance here. So I will be probably playing an inside the distance prop one on him there as well. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. I'm going to get going now and get to my bed and try and rest this throat and get a drink of water, whatever it may be. Throw a like in the video if you can, if you're still here. Until next week, all the very, very best. We're here for 286 from London, England. Until then, all the very, very best. Take care, and I'll see you all soon.